Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. We got a great show lined up for you today, but let's see how we did yesterday on the recap screen. What do we have here? I think it is 4-4 BYU. Wow, what was it? 91-57. Mike McClure hits his SportsLine 1 for 2. Martin Green, tough day, but he's back to rebound today, and buckets goes 1 for 2. 4-4, certainly not bad, but we got to improve upon that, and we're going to do it with the stars of the show. Let's bring him in right now. We've got Martin Green, we've got Larry Hartstein, we've got Zack Cimini. Gentlemen, it's a good day to bet some more soccer. It's a good day to bet some college basketball. We've got an NBA game. We've got golf starting tomorrow. Who says it's a sleepy week in the sports world? Larry, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Sia. I don't know how the NBA came up with this schedule that Lakers-Hornets needs to be the standalone game. I don't know who thought of that, but I'm just glad that we got some NBA action. We got a massive slate tomorrow and a pretty good college basketball slate as well.
Zach, can you think of any reason why they'd have an isolated game that would involve, of all team, the Hornets?
Well, actually, this is the makeup game from when the fires happened in Los Angeles. So it shouldn't have been a game today. It should be another day of All-Star break. But because of that, they scheduled it today. And then just looking at that recap, great play, Sia, on BYU. That was a blowout from start to finish. They look like a good team when we do our preview for March Madness. I might mention them. And then Larry with UConn. There was a foul with about 2 seconds left. They held the whistle. Should have got that cover.
Some go, Larry. Your response?
My response is I was at the gym and I missed that, and I hate to even hear that right now because I said that was a loss, even though when they had the game tied with like a couple minutes to go, I didn't have the right side. But now you're telling me that I could have won anyway. It makes it even worse.
Yeah, that's always troubling when it doesn't really matter. The refs might just kind of hold the call because the game's already decided. Martin Green, there were some games decided yesterday. We saw the recap screen. You're a great capper, but great cappers have tough days as well. What was the biggest surprise yesterday from you?
Yeah, that recap screen pains me, Sia. I had AC Milan to win and under 4.5 goals. They were 1-0 up and cruising. There was no way they were going to throw that game away. They were totally in control against Feyenoord. And then Theo Hernandez decided to dive in the box as if someone had shot him. There was nobody near him, and it was the worst dive ever. So the referee sent him off, and AC Milan crumbled. So that pick, unfortunately, lost. And then Atalanta just put in their worst performance of the season against Club Brugge, which very few people expected. So now 3 of Italy's 5 teams have already been knocked out of the Champions League. That's pretty surprising. And another one, Juventus, could be knocked out today if they lose to PSV. And the other big surprise was Celtic held the mighty Bayern Munich to a 1-1 draw in Munich, which I don't think anyone predicted either. So, yeah, lots of crazy results in the Champions League. Yes, Steve says it perfectly there. Yesterday was a massacre. It was tough, but yeah, hopefully we'll bounce back today.
Yeah, Joe Neuenfeld says it's God's fault, GAWD, of course, for his soccer hate, or maybe because he came around on soccer. Either way, we have another day to talk soccer, right? Champions League. We got 4 games today as well. And Martin, I know you have a pick that we're about to queue up. I do want to answer a question from Sean Levine. He says, can you explain why golf picks can't be on each capper's pick feed? Don't always have time to see the show because of work. Okay, so good news here, Sean. While we don't have it on the normal picks feed where you'd have like a college basketball pick or an NBA pick or really any other sport, we're trying to update the tool to do that. But the better news is, Sean, if you're a member of SportsLine, which of course you are because you are able to see each capper's feed on SportsLine and all their picks, you got to join the Discord because there's a couple of things happening. New golf shows are going to premiere next week, which we're going to unroll and announce within the next couple of days. More importantly, though, the SportsLine feed sometimes can be sort of that supplement to the SportsLine picks. And also we have articles that are going up on SportsLine that will have the golf picks. So while it's not in the traditional picks feed, it'll probably be in the analysis feed, the articles feed. And part of the reason we did the SportsLine Discord is so that we can put it in there. And I'll tell you this, Sean, I'm going to put my outrights in the SportsLine Discord because I have them pretty much finalized. I'm going to put them in right after this show. So you're going to be privy to that. And I will Maybe I'll just give them out later on this show as well. But discord.gg/sportsline, that's where you can find our Discord, and that is available to all SportsLine members. Let's get to some soccer picks. Yeah, I'll give out my golf outrights. It's pretty much a finalized card. I'll give it out later in the show. I'll just rattle them off. I'll put it in the SportsLine feed. I'll even tweet it out. But Martin, we're looking to rebound. Champions League. You got to pick. What is it?
Yeah, I had picks for all 4 games, but I decided to go with the one that Buckets also went with. I think we were copy and paste on this game, so I thought strength in numbers. I'm looking at the Borussia Dortmund versus Sporting Lisbon game, which takes place in Germany. Dortmund did well to beat Sporting Lisbon 3-0 on the road last week. The Portuguese champions, they're now going to need to go in all-out attack mode as they try to overhaul this 3-goal deficit in the second leg today. They could find the back of the net because Dortmund have only managed to keep 3 clean sheets in 22 Bundesliga games this season. They really struggle defensively, but they're also really good in attack, as they proved in that first leg, winning 3-0. They're very quick on the counter attack, so this could be a high scoring game, and both teams to score and over 2.5 goals looks good at -105.
All right. And my understanding, based on what you said on the front end there, is this is one that Bucket supports as well, Martin?
Yeah, we did the HQ show yesterday, and we both went for this pick. So hopefully, if when we did, this was the one game that we really agreed on. So fingers crossed. But yeah, I've got picks for any of the other games if anyone's interested. I'll go on the chat and give them out while we're talking.
It's a beautiful thing because, Martin, you are so diligent in terms of answering questions in the chat. And maybe we'll verbalize some of them. We'll circle back to you toward the end of the show. Let's talk about this Lakers game. We've got a SportsLine pick, but before we give that out, Zach, you've got a pick as well. Again, thank you for informing us because it did seem weird, Larry, that this would be some isolated game. But of course, this makes sense that this would be rescheduled as a result of some of the tragic stuff that happened just a few weeks ago. So, Zach, talk to us about Lakers Hornets tonight.
Yeah, I went to the prop market here, Sia, with this makeup game between the Lakers and the Hornets. I'm going to go over 15.5 points for Rui Hachimura. You look at the Lakers props, there's a lot of high points props being offered tonight, but I've been impressed with Hachimura since the Lakers traded Anthony Davis, what he's been doing in the month of February, averaging 19 points per game. He's averaging a season high 13 attempts, and there's a probability that LeBron James may not play tonight. He missed the All-Star game, is questionable. There is news that he may miss the next 2 games. Luka Doncic, his first 2 games with Lakers, has not played more than 24 minutes. His minutes probably will get a little bit higher, but still expect them to manage his minutes. So there's going to be more of an opportunity for Rui Hachimura to continue what he's been doing. And then you look at this, there's always risk for blowout potential when you're playing a low team like the Charlotte Hornets, but the Lakers had a 20-point lead in last month's win over the Hornets. That went all the way down to 3 points in the final second. So I think J.J. Redick will still manage his starters' minutes, keep them in the fourth quarter to avoid what happened last month, and I'll play Rui Hachimura for another effective game over 15.5 points.
Yeah, I really like this play, Zach. Let me ask you this. Because we have a SportsLine pick, we're going to give out an under with a points prop with the Laker. And I do want people, particularly with unders, to tread carefully because we don't know whether LeBron is playing or not. Let me ask you, from a Rui Hachimura standpoint, if LeBron ends up suiting up, are you – I don't want to say are you equally as comfortable with this, but this pick is anticipating maybe LeBron either not playing or maybe playing less minutes?
Yeah, I think LeBron playing less minutes would be my notion here. If he gives it a go, I expect him to tailor his minutes down. He's had those ankle and knee issues. Why push him in the first game against the Charlotte Hornets? Overall, I just like the way Hachimura is playing right now. He seems more confident without AD in the lineup. So Hachimura over 15.5 points.
You know who needs Hachimura is Gonzaga. They need him back. He was great there. Gonzaga, we talked about it on the network show yesterday. I think they're 50-1 to win it all. But I mean, honestly, that number is probably too short because, Zach, you'd agree with me. Gonzaga, probably not the team that's going to be the typical Gonzaga over March Madness over the last few years.
Yeah, not at all. They kind of remind me of Kansas. It's just a bunch of transfers that were brought in. They don't mesh together. They don't gel together. When you watch them play, you don't know what they're doing. So it'd be a definite no. It should be higher, in my opinion.
Yeah. Totally agree. Okay, well, instead of higher, we're going lower on Austin Reeves. That's one of two SportsLine picks, which Ben is going to put up on the board now. We go to college basketball. We go to the NBA. Austin Reeves under 21.5 points at -115. Again, it's up to you. You can read Matt Severance's write-up at SportsLine because I'm sure it includes analysis on the LeBron James factor that Zack Cimini was just explaining. But he likes Austin Reeves under 21.5 points tonight at -115. And then Jason Lockenford, JLC, he's going with South Dakota State at home, -6.5 at -110. So South Dakota State and Austin Reeves under, those are the two SportsLine plays, and both of them are tonight. I do want to point out that Mike McClure is in the chat, and he is doling out some info on matchups. I guess people are asking Mike about matchups and outrights and things of that nature. So take advantage of Mike. Obviously, you can take advantage of him in so many different ways because he's normally on the show, but he's in the chat. So ask him whatever you want. He says he's not as strong on Knapp as other people. It looks like he likes Griffin potentially in a matchup. There are some shorter hitters that I think are worth looking at. Again, this is a bomber's paradise and all those things, but there are some shorter hitters that are good with the long iron play, good with the approach play that I think maybe Ben Griffin is one of them. That's not a player I'm looking at, but there are like Thorbjorn Olesen is a guy I'm thinking of. There's a handful of guys that could surprise people during this tournament. More on golf in a second, but I do want to tell you, just like yesterday, we've got the Champions League Boost token. Here's how you get one. You log into your existing BetMGM Sportsbook account to receive a Champions League odds boost token. To use the odds boost, add a wager made up entirely of UEFA Champions League wagers to your bet slip and activate the token. If you win your wager that was made with the odds boost, you will receive extra winnings. Ladies and gentlemen, we got some golf to get to. We've got an NBA pick from Larry tomorrow. We got a college basketball pick tonight. A lot of picks, a lot left on this show right after this message from our partners.
Gives it to Jenkins for the championship. A 16 beats a 1. From sweet to elite to the final four.
We're back on the early edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. A lot going on in the chat that I want to catch up on. First of all, Richard Pierre says, great show. I think he's referring to our show, I'm assuming, unless he's watching two shows at the same time. Thank you for that, Richard. Joe Neuenfeld says, can't wait for MLB. I believe I think it's 35 or 36 days away from opening day. And Zach, you and I were just talking about Gonzaga. And I know, Larry, you have a college basketball pick. I think people will be shocked by this. I said it yesterday too. We're less than 30 days away from Selection Sunday. I feel like most people think it's further away for some reason, but I think it's like, 28 days, 27 days, whatever it is. Selection Sunday, March Madness, brackets, a bracket challenge that I'm sure, Larry, I know you and I were talking about SportsLine stuff that we might push out, but either way, there's going to be so much going on. And Larry, I know you also said in the chat, we got to get those MLB futures shows scheduled. Most importantly, I would imagine who's going to be on that would be guys like Sniper and A-Mags. We got to get them back in the mix, and you'll see them on this show before you know it. Larry, any reaction there? Is anything? I know we're scheduling shows and all that, but anything coming up that you want to address?
Not only that, you got conference tournaments starting in as little as 10 days, the smaller conference tournaments. And I'm looking at the guy in the diagonal box to me, Zack Cimini, who specializes in these small conference tournaments with the futures. We're going to be rolling out content on SportsLine in terms of how to bet all of these small conference tournaments. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of that on the show as well.
If that's not a reason to become a member of SportsLine, to at least be subscribed to this page, which I'm sure most of you are, and to maybe have notifications turned on and to hit the like button right now, I don't know what it is. All right, let's go to a couple of picks. I do have to let you know where these picks are because unfortunately with golf, not all the picks are at every major sports book. This first one right now, I believe, is only at BetMGM, and I think it's a really good look. Top Canadian. There's only two to choose from. At other books, this is getting grouped into top North American. So top Canadian, you can find at BetMGM. It's only two guys. It's Adam Svensson and Ben Silverman. Both of these guys, I think, have similar profiles, but Svensson certainly the better player, the better pedigree, better with the long iron, certainly rates out better in this tournament. Neither of these guys are studs as it relates to this tournament. I don't think either of them can win or even potentially top 10, although Svensson certainly could. But Adam Svensson minus 125 over Ben Silverman, I think, is a really good look. Again, this one's only at BetMGM. It might open up at the other major books. Again, maybe they'll put more out there, but this one you can definitely find at BetMGM, and I think it's a really good price. Now, this other one, it's the top 30 market, which typically you can only find at DK. Maybe some of those other small books have this as well, but I do like the top 30 market. If you want to play this top 20, I totally get it, because I think Kevin Yu actually has outright potential in this tournament. I truly do. He won the Sanderson Farms not too long ago. I know he's not a household name, but there's not a lot of household names in this tournament. So to top 30 at minus 105, all he's going to need to do is have a decent putter. His putter can really go up and down, mostly down, but on these surfaces, I think he's going to be just fine. And his ball striking is absolutely elite. Rates out really well in my model, but just looking at some of the granular stuff, he looks really good. He's just got to be okay with the putter, and he will easily top 30. All right, I'm going to give out my outrights, but first, Larry, I want to go to your bets. Martin, I want to go to some reaction in the chat with respect to some soccer and Champions League questions that you're receiving. Larry, you've got a college basketball play and an NBA play.
Yeah, pretty emotional game in Tallahassee tonight because Leonard Hamilton is coaching against Miami, the team that he led for a long time. This will be his last time he's retiring. And on the other side, you have Matthew Cleveland, who transferred from FSU to Miami, and he's carrying this Hurricanes team, which has been a disaster. They were 4-8. Jim Larrañaga quit in the middle of the season. Very shocking to his players. They lost Nigel Pack, one of their best players, to a foot injury. They were 0-10 in the ACC. Basically, they were the worst team. But lately, they are playing good ball. They've covered 4 straight. They beat Notre Dame. They beat Syracuse. They played they played Louisville to a 10-point loss. And now you're getting 8.5 points in Tallahassee. I like the points with Miami, especially because Matthew Cleveland, who's averaged over 24 points the last 8 games, going back to face his former team, and he's coming off his first bad game in a long time against Pitt. He was really held in check, so I think he's going to go off. I think Miami is playing very hard to finish out the season. They've got nothing to lose. I will take the points with the Hurricanes. And then, tomorrow night in the NBA, Norman Powell over 2.5 3-pointers, coming back minus 140 on DK. That's the best price that I could find this morning. This is a great matchup for him. He poured in 33 against the Bucks just a couple of weeks ago. And he went 3 for 8 from deep. They're giving up the 7th most threes in the NBA. They're giving up a ton of catch and shoot threes, which Norman Powell specializes at. I love this. I don't want to go any higher than this price, though, because it's pretty juicy. But let's go Norman Powell to make at least 3 threes.
All right. Norman Powell's been a stud all season. Martin Green, you're a stud. Any questions that you've already answered that may be worth verbalizing for those that might be listening to the podcast, for example?
There was naturally a lot of interest in the Real Madrid versus Manchester City game. That is delicately poised at 3-2 after the first leg. And we're expecting another entertaining game in the Spanish capital today. Quite like over 3.5 goals, which I got minus 118 on. Mbappe to score anytime looks like a good bet. I got minus 105 on that. I think it's down to minus 110 now, but he, I think, has 11 goals in his last 10 games. He's on fire at the moment, and he scored in the first leg. So that looks like a good one. Not too sure about the result. Could potentially be a draw. No one really asking about PSG versus Brest, but because PSG are 3-0 up. But yeah, both teams to score and over 2.5 goals has paid off in 6 of the last 7 games between those teams. There you go. So that looks like a decent one at plus 110. I was getting a question about, could Juventus beat PSV? I don't know. PSV, I don't think they've lost at home in about 2 years. So I'd probably rather avoid the money line there and just go for over 2.5 goals. I think it could be an entertaining game. Jeff Stenberg's looking at Plymouth. He's putting all his money on Plymouth to score over 1.5 goals. So best of luck to Jeff as always.
Jeff is the greatest. Let's see. There was something I wanted to respond to, Larry. It had to make you feel good that Mike McClure in the chat said he made the Miami number 4.5 as opposed to the 8.5 that you got. Your reaction to that?
Yeah, I love seeing that, and I love seeing the number, come down a little bit. So the market agreeing with me so far.
And there was one other comment, Mr. Big. He said, get in the Discord, everybody, because he's waking up to winners in tennis. And is it Jose Honorado? Larry, that's putting those in the SportsLine Discord?
Yeah, he's putting them in, and they're for tournaments. This week it was Doha and Rio, and a lot of the matches starting early morning. We split this morning 1-1, but it's just so great waking up to action and normally being profitable. Jose's been great in the Discord. I think it's 2-3 months already. Very, very profitable.
Dano says, this show is my coffee, LFG. Normally this show is people's coffee on Friday because of Chip Patterson's Chip Me Up, but I'm happy to hear that Monday through Thursday, this is also something that, at least wakes you up or stimulates you in some way. Appreciate that. That sounds like a pretty big compliment, Dano, so appreciate that. I promised everybody I would give my outrights out, and again, I'm going to put this in the SportsLine Discord. I typically tweet these out as well. I'm not ready to give out first-round leaders yet, although I do have like a little pool of guys that I'm going to suggest. I just haven't finalized it. And frankly, with this outright card, I may add another player because if you've heard me talk about this Mexico Open tournament, I'm taking long shots. I do have a couple of shorter shots in the 35 to 45 to 1 range, but this is a long shot tournament for me. I'm not taking a lot of guys at the top of the board. I'm going to start with the one I was most shaky about because of the odds at 35 to 1, Kevin Yu. Kevin Yu at 35 to 1. Typically you find a guy like this at 70 or 80 to 1. But in this tournament, he's going to be 35 to 1 because the talent pool at the top isn't very good. He's such a good ball striker. We've seen him spike with the putter before, and we've seen him win before, which I think is an important piece of criteria for this tournament at the Sanderson Farms not too long ago. So Kevin Yu, I'm starting there. Then I'm going Nikolai Højgaard, who you can still get at 45 to 1. I think that best number, 45 to 1, I think it's at BetMGM. Nikolai Højgaard is a really good course fit, like him at 45 to 1. Then I'm going Ryan Fox, who really hasn't been that good. But if we're talking pedigree of golfer, Ryan Fox is among the elite here, and he's a great course fit. You can get him at 66 to 1. I think that best number, again, is at BetMGM. I typically kind of scan the major sports book. I'm talking FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM. And with these outright numbers, if memory serves, because I'm kind of looking at my notes right now, BetMGM is offering most of the best numbers. So that's 3. Kevin Yu, Nikolai Højgaard, Ryan Fox. If you want to splash and sprinkle on long shots, we're going Rico Hoey at 80 to 1, who I think I mentioned on the network show on Monday. We're going Jackson Suber, a new kid on the block. He's 110 to 1. Probably isn't going to win this tournament, but has the upside to win this tournament and is worth a sprinkle at 110 to 1. And then if you want to get real spicy, 175 to 1. Nick Hardy, who is a great course fit, who has not been playing well, but has been on the PGA Tour long enough. If he bounces back, I think he can actually beat some of these guys, if not everybody. And at 175 to 1, I'm willing to speculate on a guy that I've seen play well before. So those are 6 outrights, most of them in the very long shot category. And that's how I'm going to play the Mexico Open. I might even reserve a few bucks for a live bet post Thursday, post Friday. All right. I think we can probably get to the recap screen, right? A hand up if anybody has anything to add before I get to the recap screen. All right, we covered it all. Rico Hoey is fun to say, says Long Money Larry. All right, Mexico Open, top Canadian, Adam Svensson, -125. Again, this one right now you can only find at BetMGM. Kevin Yu, top 30, -105. That top 30 market, usually exclusive to DK. Martin Green, Dortmund, Sporting, both teams to score plus over 2.5 at -105. Larry Hartstein tonight says he's got Miami plus 8.5 at -110, and that appears to be supported by Mike McClure, who was in the chat. Norman Powell over 2.5 3-pointers at -140. And Rui Hachimura over 15.5 points at -110. That one is from Zack Cimini. Our SportsLine picks, Austin Reeves under 21.5 points at -115. And South Dakota State, I believe they're the Jackrabbits. So that's a great name. -6.5 at -110. A lot of golf chat in our early edge chat. David Talk says, Grayson Sigg has been playing well. He is probably on my first round leader card, David Talk. I think that's a great call. Patrick McDonald, a big fan of Grayson Sigg, and you're going to see Patrick McDonald on the early wedge next week. So buckle up for a lot of content when it comes to the early wedge. What a great show. Larry, thank you. Zach, thank you. Martin Green, thank you. And thank you to everybody in the chat. Long Money Larry, Chris Kish, Joe Neuenfeld, B Mills, Stephen Cook. I could be here all day thanking all of you. Alex Jones is in here. Mr. Big. Really appreciate everybody. Stephen Cook, KC3, and of course, Larry in the chat. Martin Green in the chat. Doing double duty. Mike McClure. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Let's have a great Wednesday. Let's have an even better Thursday and a better Friday. I'll join you for it all. On behalf of the 3 on this show, plus me, and of course, Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. This is the Early Edge. Have a great Wednesday, everybody. We rest our case.